接下来我们要和 VG 交手，因为他们也是1连败，我们也是1连败嘛，所以我觉得这场比赛总有一个队伍会胜利，所以我希望胜利者是我们。
There you go, Chocho hoping that his team can pick up a victory here today over Vici. Vici 0-7 in the league. They just promoted back from the LSPL to the LPL, welcoming them back to the LPL. However, for the side of TOP, they're losing speed, Raz.
Yeah.
It stretches across seasons.
Yeah, and they have to be hungry for it. 18-set losing streak, that's massive. And they don't want to make it 19. They don't want to make it 20. They have to end it here. And so the acquisitions they made during the Chinese New Year's break was phenomenal, and you got to see it in that set.
I mean, TOP, they're moving in the right direction. They
Yes.
picked up Mara, they've got Korn in the mid lane as well. They looked really good. However, they're still making these mistakes. Chocho, as well as Cat, they kept getting caught out. First in the top lane, then we saw it at the Dragon Pit, and then we saw that overextension from the entire team pushing towards the Nexus Raz. These mistakes allowed Vici to be ahead throughout most of the game against them.
That's true. I mean, this is more of like a learning curve for both of these teams, where sure, you have the rosters coming together, but you still have to learn about the key core like macro mistakes that you're making, because I think a lot of the calls that they did were just very impatient, specifically TOP trying to push up the top side. That was the only reason that Vici were able to get back into the game, getting the 2 kills on the AD carry and support, and then moving that towards Baron. That was a disaster for TOP, and they have to recognize going into the next game that they can't afford to lose that once more, because the draft won't be as easy for them this time around.
And we took a look at the flip side from Vici. Yes, we saw Swift able to track out Cameron's, getting ganks in the mid lane. Relatively unsuccessful, just burning a couple of flashes here and there and making sure he kept track of the Kha'Zix. But it only felt like, throughout that game, Vici could punish mistakes from TOP. And if that's all Vici can do in the LPL, they're not going to be able to pick up a game this split.
Woo! I mean, that's harsh to say, but that feels like the reality, because, and that's, for me, that's where Swift comes in. Because Swift this game was active. It didn't seem like it because of how protective, how secure the mid and jungle were for the team of TOP. That Galio was constantly playing back and was aware of the pressure there was. He was actually just losing like about 10 to 20 CS just because of how far back he was playing, of the constant pressure coming through. Going into this game, I don't expect the Galio to come through. And what does that mean to me? That means that Swift should be able to go towards the bottom side of the map a lot more often, regardless of the champion he chooses, and look to make plays in side lanes where Galio denied that beforehand. Galio is a key pick that's going into this game too, and I expect it to either be in Vici's hands or just out of the game altogether.
Because coming into this set, right, as we already talked about how Swift, we thought he'd be top side focused, trying to lock down Marin, like we saw before when he was on LGD a couple of splits back. He was constantly being ganked out by the opposition's jungler, but Swift had his hands tied, tracking Karen, staying in the mid lane, and that allowed Karen to get that gank at the bottom lane, got the game rolling for TOP. But really curious to see what Vici are going to change here.
That's the 2 steps that I want to see here, just 2 options that he has. He can either keep the composition and look towards that late game comp, but find a way to be a little bit more impactful mid lane. Because what I really like, 9 minutes in, EasyHoon and Swift had really good synergy in getting the vision control down. Great control ward, being able to cut Galio from coming to the bot side of the map, but he didn't need to come to the bot side of the map, Kha'Zix already did. So if they can impact that, they don't necessarily need to change anything about their draft, just need to basically try and get that kill in the mid lane. Look for something that can spiral the game.
Well, Vici definitely have to shake things up coming into this next match, because TOP are at match point. But now we're going to send it over to our casters as Dom and Rusty.
TOP have just doubled their number of game wins in 2018. With that victory that they just took, they need to do it one more time, and they can end this losing streak that has been going on for 244 days is the last time this roster got a match win in the LPL.
I'm sure they're backstage doing some rain dances, hoping to actually find themselves with no bad voodoo against them. They need the win. They really need the win, but of course Vici do as well, Dom. And yes, it's been longer for TOP, but that doesn't remove the hunger from the Vici roster when it comes to finding that set victory. They're 1 game down, respectively, themselves, but still they know what it takes to win. No one looked perfect in game number 1. We saw strengths, we saw weaknesses. I think Vici can still absolutely catch TOP when they fall.
Already Vici with the adaptation. They're going to ban away Kennen and Rakan, 2 huge players for TOP on the likes of Kat and Marin in that game 1. We're also seeing the likes of Azir, Vladimir, and Camille stricken away from Vici on the other side. So TOP already showing a bit of a different priority in this game 2.
Yeah, you know, the first thing that Raz mentioned about drafting is that they may not get Galio again here, TOP, but they banned the Kennen, they banned the Zoe, they banned the Ricard. Zoe is pretty much a staple ban, but the Kennen, I don't think is as necessary as a Galio would be. And I feel like whilst the Ricard is a decent ban away from the duo, I still think the middle point being able to rotate more easily than those 2 champions did actually validate perhaps a higher priority in the ban list. But still, they played well, each respective champion that was banned away, so I can understand why they were removed.
Well, now that means that Marin gets to take his Gnar, which was banned away from him in this game 1. So perhaps we'll get to see why this Gnar was banned. And there are still plenty of champions for Khorne to look towards in the mid lane that have got plenty of roam potential, though perhaps Ryze, one of the few champions who can actually keep up with that, with the likes of his Realm Warp.
Absolutely, Ryze also very good at just trading in mid, roaming around the Rift as you mentioned, and still just a generally strong champion right now. I still believe this is the patch where you can use your ult Zonias out,
Yes,
right?
it is still active.
We're still there. Ryze is still strong as a result of that as well. Actually, that little extra +1 to the strength.
Get out of jail free card. Jarvan locked in for Karin. Already a very aggressive setup from TOP, but Gangplank locked in from Meow. Traditionally a carry top laner, was playing Ornn in game number 1, so taking a back seat to his team, but it's Vici putting their faith in him in game 2.
And Meow and Marin are one of the Rumble players, 2 of the Rumble players running around in the league as well, but Gnar to be locked in, Gangplank to be seen as the response, and now Gnar should be doing very well in that 1v1 lane as it stands. But Gangplank can always catch you out of position as Swift has gone back to his staple.
Yeah, his primary champion, that Nidalee, and the Galio again locked in for Khorne in the mid lane.
Yeah, look at the Wombo, Dom. They tell me that it was not Galio, that it was Kennen instead. They just replaced it with a Mega Gnar, and they put a Jarvan in there to boot. And they're like, well, our Wombo literally just got sicker. Like, it is so lit. And their opponents are like, oh, whoops.
Yeah.
Did we just let that happen?
Oh my. Bit of a shocked face from Vici Gaming on this round 2 of the bans. Tahm Kench going to be banned away from Caveman. No chance to get out of this cataclysmic devastation. This massive Wombo combo. Caitlyn going to be banned away from Choo Choo, so he's not going to fire free shots against the back. Kalista is still open. Add even more fire to the flame.
Yeah, definitely possible. I actually think that Kalista could be considered as another ban, another way of enabling someone to engage with the Rakan gone, the Tahm Kench and the Alistar removed. You're looking at Kalista as perhaps the AD carry who can provide engage with someone like the Braum. Someone like the Shen even could be seen from TOP through their bottom lane 2v2. It is curious that Cat, of all people, is going to contribute to banning Tahm Kench away.
Yeah,
but
of all
they
people.
do get rid of that.
Yeah, the Braum is banned away here from the bottom lane, and Choo Choo immediately with the hover on that Kalista locks it in. That is terrifying. What else could we add into that mix? Like, this is the whole kitchen. We're chucking in Kalista, you've got Jarvan. It's a spicy stew.
We mentioned the Shen as a capability here for the support role. Now, for the side of Vici, that's where we have to look there first, all right? What can they possibly pick? An AD carry, maybe you go back to Ezreal because he's safer than anything else. Tristana does have a lot of range and scales up well. Also has a very good laning phase into Kalista, which seems to be the primary place that they're going to go. And if this is the option that they look towards, Caveman could actually win the whole game. Yeah. Just by being Taric and just by using that ultimate.
Cosmic Radiance.
Could also go something like the Bard and try and outplay, be hyper-aggressive down in that bottom lane, but Bard into Kalista is pretty difficult sometimes just because of how hoppy she is. I think Taric will be the easiest choice.
Oh, there it is. Taric locked in. The Cosmic Radiance is ready. Oh boy. Thresh Kalista. One of the strongest bottom lanes in League. But we haven't seen it too much lately. There's an opportunity. It's locked in. Everything fits together for TOP. if they ever group up as 5, Vici have got to turn around and back away because that engage is just terrifying.
Yeah, you very rarely see Thresh, though, to round out the composition. Now, Thresh Kalista, of course, is a super strong 2v2 lane, a lot of presence, flame-powered auto attacks and Kalista Rens. Auto attack coupling with Kalista's W as well does give them a lot of pressure, but when you think about it, choosing to go towards the Thresh over something like the Shen, remember that if Taric puts up the stun and you hook, you're actually pulling the stun towards you. There isn't a lot of interactions in that 2v2 outside of laning phase that is ideal to have the Thresh there in the composition. But by having the pick there, it enables them to have this other opportunity, this other direction that isn't the raw 5v5 massacre team fight where everyone just dogpiles in. They do have the possibilities of getting a pick first and then threatening the team fight instead.
We'll have to see if Vici can respond to this appropriately. They've got the likes of Gangplank to back away. They've got Nidalee for Swift in the jungle, as just about everyone gets a chance to play their signature champions. The only thing we're missing is Marin on Fiora. I think we covered just about everything.
Yeah, pretty much, but he's going to be on the Nara in this case, and Meow on the opposite side. Of course, there's 2 cats in this game, Cat and Meow. They're going to be... It's a Gangplank, and he is a carry player. We've mentioned this already. He does love himself some carries. Rumble seems to be what he's been best on so far, though. So instead of going towards that, it's the Gangplank. And yeah, everyone else has very strong champions for themselves. They're individually a decent composition here from the side of Vici. If Swift can get rolling early, can keep the Jarvan down, then suddenly Vici just look like a powerhouse. They're unstoppable through the early game. It's that level 6 where things may start to shift. And what's interesting about that is a lot of the R buttons, the ultimates from Vici aren't damaging ultimates. You've got a Ryze ultimate, you've got a Nidalee who doesn't really do anything with that as well. Gangplank's ultimate is okay, it's more of a control ulti, and the Taric to keep people alive. So at level 6, things absolutely shift towards TOP, and you'd expect them just to be running around blasting everybody and diving turrets.
We'll have to see if TOP change gears once they get to that point as the fans cheer them on. TOP fans finding some new momentum with their new top and mid laner. And with that support, could it be enough to close out this series and take their first match win since 2017 summer, week 3? It's been quite some time. Of course, Vici, their own last win in the LPL was 2017 spring, in about week 8 or 9.
They have the easiest slogan in League of Legends, by the way, because their name is Vici. It's just Veni Vidi Vici.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. Whereas Vici, you know, they've also got a couple of reasons to have their fans out here today. It's not just all Marin fans for TOP, but we've got Swift now in the mix with Easy Hoon. We know full well that the Korean duos, being in very similar positions on the map, will start to butt heads, and that is the place we look. It's not just the level 6 wombo that we'll see out of TOP, it's how do they get to level 6? Can Swift run amok? There are games where he just wins the entire thing by himself. And if this is a bottom of the table clash between 2 last place teams, there's the perfect opportunity for Swift to step up to the plate and just 1v9.
Well, take a look at this. Martin playing completely different to game 1. Heavily pushes out the bottom lane to claim very early control, even ducking into the river from Martin and Caveman, as that was a topside start from Swift for his own blue buff. So
missing those minions under turret, very difficult. It should be easy to do as Kalista, however, but 3 CS in the first wave is tragic for the side of TOP. Martin, Caveman, you mentioned it, the jungler starts on the other side, that's why they get to push. I feel like that was in part intentional, not just to give the blue buff to Swift, which means his leash is going to be a little bit worse, but to give pressure and control down there to the bottom lane 2v2. It means that on the second wave or the third wave, depending on how you'd like to play it, they can go over to the enemy side of the map and either take away some of the, in this case it's going to be the explosive plant, or they can ward near the blue buff. But they know that Jarvan started at that blue buff himself, so he's actually on the top side, which means they don't need to place vision at all. Swift is dead.
Oh, dies to the Raptor camp on his signature champion. You can see him laughing in the corner of your screen, but that's going to put a damper on their momentum.
Oh, that's really unfortunate. The enemy team gets a notification. It's a whoops-a-daisies.
Ah, there he was.
Why was that Taric leaving to ward again? I guess he wasn't. Nidalee's dead.
Oof. That was
that's really upsetting.
A little embarrassing. Look, it's his first set back in the LPL in 2018.
Oh, it's not his first set jungling, Dom. We're not giving him excuses.
He's got to shake off the rust. All right, there he goes. He goes right back at it. Hey, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on Raptors. Riot, please.
Uninstall league.
Exactly.
Died to Raptors twice, remove the game.
Ooh, that hook lands. You can see that auto trading coming in. Snare will tag onto Korn, who just walks around the trap. Still Shield of Durand, but look at that damage. Easyhoon with another and a flash from Korn to get out.
Has got the teleport, so he can come back to lane okay, but is forced out at 22 CS. So that may well be just a Null Magic Mantle. May not be a big item purchase for him. He's going to go towards the ring instead. So even more lane focused with his itemization choices. Super tragic, and you never would have seen it coming, you know. Swift dying to Raptors, going back to take his Raptors and ganking from bottom side. Actually a little bit unexpected.
You can see Cat showing some of his warding stats here. He places the 3rd most wards in the LPL, clears the 7th most. And hopefully that vision will allow Swift to, or excuse me, will allow Karin to get around the map. Swift going to be the one that he's trying to track this time. On the likes of that Nidalee, very mobile champion.
Does an awful lot of damage here, Cat, as well. You saw the vision that they just placed, trying to find where that Nidalee is. Now, I would expect him to be on the top side, however. He's currently taking down those Krugs. And a lot of the gank timing, a lot of his pathing timing has been thrown off a little bit. And perhaps TOP not too sure where he would be at the same time just by that death. And I know it feels a bit weird to say something like that, but... Okay, he dies at Raptors. Has he cleared 5 of the camp and he's coming back to kill the 6th one? Or is he going to do a full camp? Gromp and Wolves should be available for him at that time in the game. Where's he gone, right?
Yeah, adds in some mystery as the stun lands. Swift racing through the brush. Spear will tag onto Cap, but he just backs away.
Caveman went very early with the stun in that particular trade. There was no chance for Swift to get a gank, so he'll take the spear, nice little trade, and just reveals himself on the map. So you look towards Karin again. Okay, Nidalee's revealed herself on the bottom side of the map. What can I do to contribute to some kind of trade, perhaps, on the opposite side? Well, there is nothing, because there was wards placed earlier to try and spot him by Easyhoon. And speaking of Easyhoon, you just saw the dematerializer used there for the Rise procs. I think it's super cute. Raz mentioned it earlier on social media, I believe, but Rise, if you use your Spell Flux as the minion dematerializes, you actually get the bounce to every minion.
Fascinating. Even though the projectile doesn't land. I like it.
Yep.
Very clever. Because
then
you
it
can
dies while it's in the air, so it has to land somewhere. And where it lands is dead, so it just
into
bounces.
non-existence, yeah. Well, Marin, you can see he teleports back into the top lane to deal with that gangplank. Cull first after that Doran's shield. So Marin, he's playing the long game.
He is a Cull buyer. He's always been one of those as well. Loves himself some Cull. With the Gnar, whilst it's not the best item for laning, it does still become very gold efficient further on. And he's always going to farm up that 100 gold. So confident in his play. But so far the top lane, yes, it's 10 CS. Gangplank doesn't really mind that it's 10 CS. Laning going pretty well for both of them, honestly.
Just continuing to hold on. Meow with that carry
No
this
flash.
time. There's no flash for Korn. You're exactly right. Shield of Durand and the Cannon Barrage. Korn going to be chunked low.
Oh, goodbye.
Actually uses the hero's exit to get to Karin in safety.
The hero's note button. He removes himself from the middle lane. Had no flash, so it's actually pretty lucky that someone was just nearby to provide him with the exit. Does get out alive, but still good ganking from Swift here. Constantly present on the map. We haven't really seen Karin at all.
Yeah, just farming and staying on his own side of the map. Now he's going to place some wards on the bottom half, the red side of Vici.
And he is looking towards the bottom side. If he's ever going to dive somewhere. Now, there's no teleport, so it's only going to be a 3v2. Swift isn't nearby.
Look at that. He's actually waiting for the minion wave to pass before turning towards those Krugs. But Easyhoon is up top. Marin, he's doing some big damage to Meow. And with that much damage, they decide they don't want anything to do with that Gnar.
He's actually just looking towards the red buff Karin, as they did reveal themselves topside by pressuring Marin, who walks away. He knows that it should be completely free, and he cannot make his mind up. He hasn't touched the Krugs. They've been alive the whole time.
Now he's got the Cataclysm. Chuchu's level 6. Stun will tag onto Karin. That's a stopwatch onto Martin to avoid the knock-up. The Ignite damage will pull him away. Cat soaking early aggro. Cataclysm is going to go for the knock-up.
Galio's
Here's
here.
Korn on the side. 4 members of TOP, but the wave
The
is
minions
cleared
are
out.
dead.
Korn,
Oh, that's
Korn
done.
goes in. Big knock-up. Oh, and stopwatch to keep himself safe, but Caveman looks for the kill, and Karin leaps over to safety. Easyhoon is racing down. He's got the Realm Warp. Will he go for it?
You can't dive a Taric when he has auto attacks constantly going on to you. Great stopwatch from Martin as well to deny any kind of engage. And the stuns kept connecting. The fact that they hit everybody, that dive felt like a giant reach from TOP. They really wanted it, but they didn't really know how they were going to get what they wanted. They just tried to force it because everyone was going topside. There's pressure everywhere, and I do respect that they're trying to make a trade. They're trying to get something going. You know, if Chocho and Cat get a kill, if they could snowball their bottom lane 2v2, they are renowned for leaving lane. They'll suddenly be top lane to help Marin, and the map opens up. But that was a big force, and it was too much.
The result of that means blue buff is taken by Swift. He's also going to steal away the Gromp as Karin has got to bashfully retreat toward his top half of the map. Meanwhile, Marin is making good use of this time. He actually just proxied in between the turrets to clear out the full minion wave, knowing everyone from Vici is bottom. So it looks like the gold is distributing once again. Swift is starting to pick himself up, just a little bit more momentum, a little bit of an advantage despite that kill. And Marin on the far side answers with his own advantage.
And you know, still ultimately it was just summoner trades from the bottom lane as well, so nothing's actually progressed. You can see the gold is equal between these teams. And when you came out of game one, you're like, Vici, you know, they've got the loss. It wasn't the best performance from them, but there were still some major positives that they could take away from it. What do they fix to actually win in subsequent games that come across? Well, Vici could have played faster around Swift, or they could have made Swift played slow. And I feel like his death to the Raptors has tapered his aggression just a little bit. He's resigned himself to counter jungling and taking farm himself where possible. And I think that helps Vici a lot, just to slow the pace down as mid lane.
Ooh, that's the Cataclysm. EasyHoon holds onto his flash and his stopwatch. They get the snare, good damage, but he just uses his stopwatch. Still holding on, finally flashes away and healed by Swift to get out.
Yeah, Korn predicted the flash, but it wasn't enough damage. Of course, the heal, as you mentioned, from Swift was there. Super cute stuff from TOP. Karin now with no flash, with no ultimate, no chance to get those kills. Cat wants some bottom.
Yeah, he's behind them. That's the Flay and the Box. They're both inside of it. Caveman breaks a wall, but Choo-Choo is forced to walk away. Teleport used and canceled by EasyHoon.
Yeah, and it was just the mid laner, though. It wasn't the top laners using teleport. Karin now on the bottom side. No, EasyHoon's teleport missing. Korn does have the ultimate, so he can still get around the map, and everything's calming down. But it's because everyone's playing so cautiously. They're all so averse to dying. They want to get to those late game team fights. The Ryze needs to scale. The Gangplank needs to scale. Tristan is a fantastic late game AD carry. Vici, they've drafted to their style of play. And TOP, I mean, we've mentioned it a million times already. They're going to wombo someone. They're going to 5v5 one way or another. And it's just about getting there.
The question isn't why. The question is when. Marin, he's actually got a lot of damage. That's the stun. Oh, and hits the minions there with that rocket. Though Meow does have teleport, should be able to get back or hold on for this next wave. Still, Marin is just so crushing in this top lane, shoving in time and time again. And to get back to the question that you posed earlier, do you slow down Swift or you just try to catch up? Well, Swift, he's not exactly known for playing slow, especially on his Nidalee.
And I would say the long-term vision of Vici is actually to speed up around Swift. But the current play should be slower, more cerebral, and more methodical around the fact that, you know, he's a Nidalee against the Jarvan. He has tempo in the jungle. He should be able to clear things first. But they also acknowledge and know that TOP are going to be the engagers when it comes to the team fights once again. So they just need him to be in position first through the speed that he has. And I think that is actually slowing down the game a little bit.
Now we do have a wave shoved in, and Swift shows himself bottom. Level 9 Heroes entrance mean Korn has got to walk in order to catch up.
They are going to go for the fight here, though, Dob.
Yeah, Flay onto Caveman. He's knocked back with the Buster Shot. Ignite as Marin joins in. And Caveman, he stalls it out, but he will die. First blood given over to Choo-Choo.
I've never seen a Taric so dead in my life. Resigned to standing still in Chocho. I was like, well, I'm just going to get some minions first before we take him down. They prolong the death timer. There's no teleport there for Caveman. He's not unsealed spellbook either. It's just the ignite. And now they threaten forwards for the turret.
That's the hook missing onto Martin. Cat's actually very low. Flayed out of mid-air by Cat to keep himself alive. The turret's still standing, and the stalemate continues.
I don't actually think TOP were fully communicating just then on what they were going to do. Thresh flayed him out and then ulted to block him, I think, because Karin was going forwards to try and do some damage, maybe prevent the kill, but they could have even looked towards killing Swift. He had no mana. Could have maybe forced even a flash if they wanted in the end result of the trade, but everyone will walk away.
again, still these changes are rather new. Korn in the mid lane and Marin just joining in after this Chinese New Year, as Marin is still just pushing wave after wave, though Meow is keeping pace much better.
Oh, they're going.
Martin actually looks to finish off the turret, perhaps at the cost of his own life. Finishes it off, but Rusty, I gotta ask, was that worth it?
He got the solo gold for the first turret of the game by himself, so
Yeah.
I'm inclined to say yes. But now you have to look at what TOP are going to do on the flip side here. They get the pick, so they get extra gold. It's now 2-0 Kalista, and they start sieging the bottom turret for themselves. It may just be a trade, and ultimately, whilst it's okay for Martin to make that trade, his lack of presence on the map, if they get this turret, which they're not going to because of a teleport.
Yeah, Meow actually is the one who defends. That means Marin is free to push up top, and look at where Martin is going. He's going to try to race him up there and defend that tier 1.
But I don't think TOP are going to just slow down here. If the Tristana's not present, they can still threaten, they can still siege and push forwards. And you're right, Marin will be sieging at the same time. So when you look at the gain of gold, if this turret falls down, it's worth. Same thing with bottom. But because neither turret falls down, Vici have a small victory, very small victory, that could actually cascade into a deficit when those turrets drop.
We'll have to see if that's the case. Swift shows himself up top, sweeping out the ward and looking for a clear. Marin playing with fire as he steps forward to pick up that drill. As Swift sets up some wards and continues to push around, the bottom tier 1 will finally fall as Caveman and Meow back away. Marin, he's exhausted now, drops out of Meganar, but he's still able to clear the wave out and defend himself.
It's always been weird to me that Mininar can pick up Meganar's thrown
Holders.
object.
Yeah.
Like in this case, the space drill, I think it is.
Ooh, Karin with the engage. He gets a lantern pulled back, buys time for Choo-Choo to get just a bit of harass onto the turret. Still, this is a lot of pressure coming up top. Snare onto Korn. He chases onto EasyHoon. Rod of Ages first against the Rod of Ages of EasyHoon.
EasyHoon was on the wrong side of the map with the way he was running. Korn was also going towards the rest of his team, but they don't get the picks. And of course, they're looking towards diving mid.
Yeah, Fate's Call and
Whoa,
the flash.
Cat.
Cat goes completely wide, and Karin
Whoa.
follows up. Hero's entrance to prevent the damage. He's still taking a lot from the turret. Flashes away. Caveman tries to catch up. Choo-Choo on the side, and Cat goes low, goes down as Martin joins in. That's one. Looking for the resets. Buster Shop makes it 2 kills for Vici Gaming. And finally, the top tier 1 breaks.
I mean, Martin will get the turret, but at what cost for the middle lane? Swift?
Ooh, he's chasing it down. Swift wants the auto. He's knocked up. Choo-Choo tries to follow Flash and a stopwatch. Finally, he'll die. 3 kills for 3, but Vici are using this. They're taking the tier 1 now.
And that was worth it for Swift in this case, going forward, sacrificing himself and buying time. The stopwatch is used, and that's enough time to get the turret in the middle lane as well. Karin left just responding, trying his best to hold on. Vici, they do come out slightly ahead in that trade, you would have to imagine, from all of the kills that they just received in the mid lane, and from the fact that they broke the mid lane out of turret specifically. This dive from TOP is nothing if not sloppy. Early flash is gone. Cat wants to back away. Carrot says, why are you backing away? He has no flash. We're diving. They put the combo on. The Caveman's just around the corner. He's ready to rumble. Gets a clutch stun off as well. Prevents damage from EasyHoon, and he's alive. Meanwhile, the cavalry has arrived, and they're just going to be able to kill Korn. He is not tanky. It's a Rod of Ages. So he just goes down, and that's 2 easy kills on the back of Vici literally just rotating to mid lane. They actually just had to be there.
Yeah, not only that, they've now got vision around that dragon just as it spawns. Another Ocean Drake. Vici looking to equalize that, though TOP now turn their attention towards the Rift Herald, seemingly happy to cede that over.
This could be a very important objective, actually, for TOP as a trade goes. I think that if they are able to use this to break the mid lane outer turret, which is the one remaining outer for them, then the map completely opens for TOP. And when you contrast what happened in Game 1 to Game 2 right now, if all the mid-outers are gone, Baron is much more easily accessible for each respective team. Vision is now more important and harder to get. And whilst that is good for TOP, because they can get that extra vision down, maybe play more aggressively around the buff, Vici have been superior when it comes to vision control and placement, specifically from Swift and EasyHoon. So this dynamic continues to shift.
Karin manages to get behind Meow, but decides not to engage. And Vici, with that dynamic that you mentioned, now starting to put some pressure onto the map with a 1-3-1. EasyHoon with Ghost and Unsealed Spellbook. Could swap that out for Teleport a little bit later. And Baron is up in 90 seconds, so no threat of that happening. Looks like they're content to just sit and catch these waves, as Karin will be holding onto that Rift Herald until he finds an opportunity to open up the map in that mid lane. And Marin, though he was spectacular in Game 1 on the likes of that cannon, is not able to open up anywhere near as big an advantage. Meow on perhaps a slightly more comfortable champion with that Galio. Easy Hoon, never mind. He's caught. The hook pulls onto him, but Vici turned the catch into a catch of their own. Cannon barrage as Korn hops in. Karen's on the side, but decides not to engage.
Yeah, Korn going forwards, but the disengage was already there from the Kalista ultimate. They choose to back away. They don't want to commit themselves to any fights. Don't overexert themselves for any picks down in a defensive situation for TOP, but they want Swift.
Yeah, Cat steps forward, flash, and misses the hook. Bit of a tragedy.
He has not, I don't actually think he's hit more than one hook so far. I think the last hook that he threw besides that one, the one just before it, was the first that he's hit of the game. Not the best start here for Cat on his Thresh, but ultimately, it's not just about the Thresh. It's about the team composition. It's about the 5v5 and the team fighting that will no doubt ensue from this point on.
We haven't seen TOP get the opportunity to find that 5v5. Though, as you said, the potential is always there. They have got a lot of very strong ultimates that stack up. They just need to find that chance. And as long as Vici are being so present with this vision, that just raises the stakes that much more. Because if ever there's a lapse, if ever TOP get the chance to group as 5...
We know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
It's either the Baron or the team fight themselves. They will choose between only those two options, and there is no option number 3. There's no third door in this equation. They will be looking towards those. And right now, I think lane assignments is where you look at for that third dom specifically, where Marin is, as Korn can go towards bottom lane. 1-3-1s actually start to take place as well. If Marin is nearby, then the team fights can happen. Hook's on.
Ooh, Hook does tag onto Caveman. He's not going to use that Radiance. Drops a Dazzle, but doesn't catch anyone.
And that's the pick before the team fight that we mentioned in draft phase as well. The reason that Cat is able to play the Thresh. The reason that Vision is so important when outer turrets drop down. A pick like that can mean so much.
And there's that Rift Herald being summoned as well by Karin the Hook, barely missing Martin. You can see Marin on the side. Korn manages to hit him with the Shield of Duran, chunks him down to half with that Rod of Ages before turning and retreating. But with that Herald charging, finally the Tier 1 is broken.
It makes you wonder what TOP were going to do next. You know, the fact that the heal was used by Martin, he jumped away. Did they want to threaten and pressure around the Baron area again? And do they have the sweepers and control wards to do so? Well, the answer is yes. They have got control wards. They could threaten if they choose. But still a lot of assumptions to be made from the side of Vici of if they're going to look towards it at all. A Kalista can absolutely destroy a neutral objective if given the opportunity. The vision should be cleared.
Choo Choo respawning next to his favorite thing on the map. Not going to be shredding it down just yet, but he says wait for later. I'll be back.
It's TOP's version of Tibbers. I actually think that blue trinket spotted him recalling, so they are able to advance in here, walk forwards, and secure some wards of their own here, Vici. The correct timing to do so, of course, which is what we were looking at. When we're highlighting TOP, they can go towards the objective. That's Vici's immediate response to be, well, we need to get vision around the objective straight away. And by catching TOP with the recalls, of course, out of necessity, they've just made the picks, they've just expended resources, and they can get some vision up themselves.
Swift and Caveman, perhaps showing a bit of a new duo, looking for Karin, but not quite finding him. Just maintaining vision around that Baron objective that you mentioned. You cannot leave that unwarded against this roster.
You know, I've been a pretty big fan of Caveman so far this split, actually, from what we've seen of him. He is one of the few Bard players, to be fair, so he does stand out amongst other supports in terms of performance if he's doing well on it. But he has been playing very well with the champions that he's been playing. It's the rest of the team that starts to feel like they're hit or miss, where he has been relatively consistent as performance goes. And for all those people that thought I was trolling, he has a tier on Taric. It's not just me.
Yes, he actually does that.
It is actually standard. You would say at the moment on Taric, at least in the LPL, to have a tier on Taric. It's cheap, and the mana costs of Taric are extremely high.
Can confirm. I've got your back on this, Rusty. I believe you wholeheartedly. The question is, does anyone else?
Well, if they don't, they should, because we're watching it.
Yeah. Meanwhile, lots of pings towards the Baron pit right now. There are 5 members of TOP in that river, and already Cat is stepping forward and placing wards. Cannon Barrage and Teleport are ready for Meow. And
Well,
these wards are
they're hitting
being
it.
swept out as best they can.
They're definitely hitting it.
TOP 23 minutes. They turn onto this Baron buff. Meanwhile, Meow is trading with Marin in the river on bottom side. Corn dropping the shield just to zone Vici away and clear out this vision. As Marin is doing a lot of work. He's got the ultimate ready. Doesn't get the slam on the wall. Sterix Gauge procs for Meow.
Yeah, they get the Sterix proc for the Gnar ultimate. Now, that is still good for the side of Vici, the fact that Marin doesn't have a big part of the team compositional wombo combo here for TOP. And again,
whoa, Cat very far forward, forced to use his stopwatch.
Ooh,
Karen
Korn.
body blocks, and Korn goes in. He's got that proto belt as well for even more, and Karen follows up with a big leap, flashes away from the Cataclysm. It's not the combo we were looking for, but it's big damage. The Cosmic Radiance keeps Vici alive, and Swift follows
They're
up.
all
The
still
hook
alive.
pulls him back in, the fight yo-yoing back and forth. No one has died, Rusty, but that might change.
that's one.
As that's one. Marin on the side looks to retreat, but still the chase. Martin leaps forward, but doesn't find another kill, and TOP back off of the map.
And Martin has the Tristana, gets the jumps, has the flash as well, and is able to pick up a kill. And straight away, Vici should at the very least clear the vision around the Baron area. If they want to threaten starting it, it is a possibility, but very dangerous and very risky to do so. And so just establish vision control, just recall, set up the map and structure yourself for the following team fights that will happen. And amusingly, of course, TOP, they took the team fight without Marin, without the Gnar ultimate, and it looked good, but good isn't kills. Good isn't enough damage to find the kills. The combo wasn't there. They were individually doing nice things, and that's not enough.
Not quite getting to the sum of their parts just yet, though. Certainly they've got plenty more opportunities. Again, 400 gold separates these teams, as this is a closer match than anyone on these teams would like it to be. 1 dragon to 1 dragon, 4 to 4 in terms of kills. 500 gold again, and only 1 turret separating the two, as Dragon is being started. Marin knows that it's happening, but the rest of his team is around the Baron right now.
Yeah, he's just dealing with 3 of them. I do think this means that TOP will start the Baron straight away. It's a Callista again. Marin just trying to be a pest. And they haven't actually kicked it off, which is a surprise. Even the Observer was confused. It's just a free Drake.
That's now the Cloud Dragon picked up for Vici. A bit more maneuverability. The next Dragon will also be a Cloud, the last elemental of this game. And just like that, we let ourselves calm down. Korn is actually going for a lot of damage. Protobelt, Rod of Ages.
And he may have to finish off that zone as his next item, depending on where he wants to go. We'll see. Of course, Leandre's is also pretty much a staple for the Gallios in the middle lane. He does need to sell one of the Dark Seals or the Doran's Ring to start getting more items, so we'll see which direction he does go. What preference he has as well. Zhonya's, I think the reason that is important is because he's trying to flash engage constantly, and now he doesn't have the stopwatch. And that was actually a big thing that the last fight caused for TOP in a negative sense, is that they just don't have stopwatches really anymore. They have got it for Choo-Choo, but that's about it.
Yeah. Now Deathbrush being set up just behind the Baron. Cat steps forward. No sweeper from Vici. They're going to have to walk in together.
I just don't throw the hook at all.
Out. Yeah, a bit of that splash damage, aggravating, but not quite starting off that fight. Meanwhile, Korn looks for Meow on the side. Shield of Durand, cleanse. The hook is going to miss again. Meow is able to walk out of this. He's keeping pace with Marin on that Gnar. He's doing damage in these fights, and Martin with the red buff wants a kill.
Yeah, if they can get the slowdown, even the fleet footwork from the Tristana to start speeding herself up and auto-attack more, maybe you get the Callista ultimate out of Cho-Cho. A Respect ultimate could have been seen, but they're just trying to force something, you know, that one little difference that can cascade a whole game. TOP, they want the Thresh hook into the team fight perhaps, or just the raw 5v5 if they get the perfect engage. On the opposite side here though, Vici, they have control.
Yeah, their side waves have allowed them to control the mid lane and turn towards the Baron. They're shredding through its health so quickly. Karan is ready with a smite of his own. Teleport being used from Marin, but he's nowhere near Mega. Karan with the engage. That's going to be the hero's entrance. He goes low and dies just as there's the knockup. Cosmic Radiance stalls this out, and Korn is pulled to safety. Still, that's 1 kill for Vici.
There's not a lot of health for the support of Vici, one of the members of the team, and TOP, they will take that as a victory because they hold the Baron, they keep it alive whilst they lose a member, and they do lose the team fight, yes, but 1 turret falls. Vici will recall. If nothing else, this buys time for a reset from TOP. They want to be able to try again, but Vici, they've faked the recall out. They may catch TOP unaware and unprepared to defend this.
They step right up. This is Cat on the back side. But that Baron is being shredded so quickly. It's going to take a miracle to steal this away. That's the hook missing. Marin with the boomerang. Does a bit of damage, but there's not enough. Not even the winds of war. Baron picked up by Vici Gaming.
And Vici amassed themselves not only the 3,000 gold lead, but 3.5 minutes with the Baron buff to secure themselves even more structures. They've got the Tristana. They've got the siege capabilities there with the Nidalee protecting, with the Gangplank threatening with kegs. Their composition, now that they're finally in a foot forward position, they can actually make that proactive movement and play. Well, they've actually got a lot of tools to do exactly that.
Yeah. You've mentioned it earlier, the vision that we saw from Vici Gaming during that early game, allowing Swift to maneuver around and keeping Vici safe for most of this action.
You know, I saw Mara crit a minute ago and I didn't really want to touch on it, but now we're just looking at Marin. So now look at his items.
Tell me what's going on here, Rusty.
He just wants to attack with a bit of extra range, I think. He's decided to carry. He's decided to carry really hard.
That one big auto attack.
The rapid fire cannon, right?
It seems as though everyone on TOP is telling Karin that he's going to be the tank. Even though Korn is playing Galio, even though Marin is playing Gnar, Karin is going to be the tank.
To be fair, a lot of the advantages that the champions of TOP have is that they're naturally tank. Yes. Galio with the W. Gnar, when he hits Mega, has extra resistances compared to Mini as well. I think it's actually statistically the highest resistances and scaling values on Mega because he has the least on Mini. But also Trist ultimate.
Yeah, big damage onto Choo Choo as a spear. We'll get just a bit more, and with Choo Choo backing away, the Baron buff, Vici swing forward with 4 members. The pendulum crashes into the tier 2, and Vici ride this momentum forward. Martin, 4 full items, shredding through these turrets.
And a lot of this comes back to the Tarek point that we mentioned. Why are Vici able to succeed right now in this game? Well, they get a team fight TOP. The team fight never results in kills because Cosmic Radiance prevents it. Every single time a 5v5 breaks out, that is the case. And Caveman is coming up clutch in this game and enabling Vici to do what they are right now with the Baron, continue to siege.
More and more damage being done. Korn steps forward with the Shield of Durand to zone, but 2 inners and now an inhibitor turret have fallen. And still, Vici are healing themselves up. They've got the Ocean Dragon. They've got the likes of that Tarek. They've got the split push from Meow. And they are not letting this pressure go to waste.
It's actually super important that Korn does damage in a team fight when it happens. It's not just the ultimate that needs to go in and help some kind of wombo. He needs to contribute relevant damage. Maybe 2 cycles of spell rotations is needed from him to be successful in a fight.
And look at that, the immediate root from Easyhoon. There's no chance for him to go in while he's charging that Shield of Durand. Vici just seem to be prepped and ready for anything that TOP can throw at them with this composition. And though Korn is doing well in the mid lane, he's got to try to get something done here for the likes of TOP. Realm Warp to get towards the bottom lane and defend that tier 2. 5 kills to 4, but 7,000 gold for Vici as the Baron wears off.
The paper cuts ensue, of course. Vici, with that lead, with the Baron buff, with control of the map, they start to slow the pace down and look towards structures. TOP on the opposite side, they didn't respond. They weren't responsive to that by any means. They just let those structures fall down. There was no play in response from TOP, though. They need to find a 5v5 fight because of all of the Baron buff-powered minions running around, the sidewave control that Gangplank was providing, the fact that Vici were able to split apart the ranks of the TOP roster, well, turrets just drop.
Now we can see Vici setting up for the next objective. Yet another paper cut to add to the ever-growing list. A second Cloud Dragon to get them around the map even faster. And still, they've got pressure. There was no teleport used by Meow. There was no cannon barrage. The 1-4 is still a threat, and they continue to apply it.
Pressure just keeps happening, keeps mounting.
Cat steps forward, misses the hook, and pays for it. Marin steps forward. That's the flash. Knockup misses Martin Hero's entrance. He's going to try to get out of this, but Cat steps forward, dies finally as Meow is going to set up for the reset. And TOP, they're low, though Marin gets a good stun. There's no follow-up from his team. Choo Choo is able to finish off Meow in the back. Caveman misses his flash. But as you said, Easyhoon is just firing off rotation after rotation. Swift is forced to back away. And though they get the kill advantage, EasyHoon and the rest of Vici are still bringing pressure.
And an equal trade still has super minions running into the mid lane. Top lane still has the minion control there. EasyHoon was completely untouched for health, and they are going to continue to siege bottom. So another turret should drop here in favor of Vici. Teleport even used from Korn, I think it is, to try and stop this.
Stepping forward to get onto the minion wave, he clears it out and defends his tier 2 as Vici sprint away. They don't want to be caught by any sort of teleport shenaniganery from the likes of TOP, but here's that play again. Martin steps forward and immediately TOP try to play.
And how things could be different if Martin got hit by the hook from Cat. Flashes forwards, Cat misses another hook and just dies. Actually, the least relevant person on Summoner's Rift right now in this whole game. Chocho is just left kiting constantly. They do very well to kill Meow, actually, from the side of TOP. And Korn is putting in some extra work. And honestly, they're doing as best they can in poor situations where Vici just seem to be significantly stronger. The gold lead's reflective of it. But if the hooks were hitting, this game would be so different.
Karen saved by the bodyguard Scuttlecrab, then steps in and tries to secure it and almost pays with his life. As Vici are still just ever-present, pressuring the map now that they've got that advantage. Still 7,000 gold ahead, down to about 6 now after the fight. But Baron is up in 60 seconds. Meow doesn't have teleport, but he does have Cannon Barrage. And with the likes of that Realm Warp, EasyHoon can threaten more mobility, I think, than they're ready for.
From Marin, he's mini.
He's showing up behind them, nowhere close to Mega. And again, Cat steps up and misses the hook. Marin knocked out the fight. That's the combo, exactly. The knock-up on the 4. Cosmic Radiance, Cat goes down. Choo-Choo firing across the back. Shield of Durant, but Marin still away from that Mega. Is he going to be able to get in and save the fight? The rest of his team has died. Finally gets one slam, but Chocho has been firing across into the back, misses that pierce, and still the fight ends up even.
And completely even, the end result once again. 3 dead from Vici, 3 dead from TOP, but the jungler alive from Vici may help a lot. Marin.
Oh, that's a spear. Good damage. Marin leaps away. Smite to bring up an opening. The spear will miss, but Swift is still chasing. He wants it. He really does. Changes again. The spear will miss.
They're not going to get the kill. Constant pressure still to be seen from Vici. They keep TOP within the confines of their base as the end result of that fight. And we do get to settle down once again. Chocho comes up massive. At this point, I just want to say, look at the hooks from Cat, because they're starting to become embarrassing, unfortunately. But it's the rest of his team that are putting in so much work. Caveman, purely MVP performance again coming out of the support of the side. Keeps Martin alive for like an extra 3 seconds. And yes, all he does is jump away and die. But that's 3 whole seconds that EasyHoon's contributing damage, that Swift is contributing damage. And that's what it takes to equalize these trades, given how well Chocho is executing.
Sidestepping like a madman to stay alive, but Vici, they're immediately turning on to the Baron as we hop out of that replay. Realm Warp to get EasyHoon in, but now they're grouped up as 5. The Wombo is almost on cooldown. Knocked over and knocked out. Baron picked up by Vici.
Not even a chance for Carrot. Super clutch stuff there from Martin with the Tristana ultimate. Just nopes him out of the arena. Does not even allow the Jarvan a chance at a steal. Baron secured means that control of the Rift that was already there for Vici will remain, will stay. Now that next step is what we look towards. Can they do it? Can they actually get through the impenetrable fortress of the TOP team fighting?
It's an excellent question. Can they actually break the defense? Paper cuts only do so much. Eventually, you've got to rip and tear and make your way to the Nexus. Marin is on the side. I didn't know you could get that close to Mega without actually tipping over to the far end.
And that skin's the best because he goes super blue.
Yeah.
So he's like turning Super Saiyan just before
Super
he goes
Saiyan,
Mega.
God Super Saiyan.
The best.
That's actually the name.
Yes.
But not quite able to.
Okay.
You got to be clear in this. It's like Topsports Gaming.
Yeah, TOP Sports.
You're exactly right. Okay. But Elder Dragon is up in 60 seconds. With the Baron, Vici are going to try reclaiming map pressure. They've got so much vision on that top half of the map. Not so much on the bottom side, though. We'll have to see if they convert this minion wave into wards around that Elder Dragon, or if they just try to use it to break down the inhibitor that has respawned.
Well, this should be the easy inhibitor for them to take. Marin is about to go away from Mega Form. He's about to be exhausted, but they don't know that. However, they do know he doesn't have teleport, and he's missing on the map. So he can't be Mega. He's not hitting anything. He's going to be showing up as mini, and they can start to threaten and siege this. Most of it does come around to what Martin can contribute to hitting the objectives. And if Cat is going to hit a hook onto him, that can change the tides of the entire game, because once again, their engage becomes more reliable, TOP. And the Tristana should just be lambs to the slaughter, basically. It should just die.
If Martin gets caught.
If Cat hits a hook.
Yes. Well, he's been looking all game, and even a blind squirrel finds an acorn once in a while. But Martin is not blind. He's been dodging these skill shots as best he can, hiding those acorns as best he can. And TOP, now they're trying to get some vision around this Elder Dragon, but looks like Vici setting up a bit of a death play.
I feel like both teams were super aware of what was going on here, but Vici have a higher priority on mid lane, lane priority specifically, whereas TOP are trying to defend the Elder. In fact, they may even just sacrifice mid lane inhib to try and get vision for the Elder.
That's a very dangerous trade. That's a spear landing onto Cat. Marin looks to go forward.
Well, they're going,
Karin on
though.
the side. That's going to be the Cosmic Radiance onto Martin. He leaps away, but that's a big cooldown burning. EasyHoon separated from his team. Flashes away from the knockup of Karin.
And heal used by Martin as well to keep EasyHoon alive. 3 summoner spells burnt from the pick of TOP. Now, there was 2 from Cat on the Thresh, and now they have control. Against the Baron buff Vici, they're pushing towards mid lane and then consequently the Elder Dragon.
This is a limited window, though. Look at these side waves. Meow runs up top, brings Baron towards that inhibitor turret. There's Minion Wave pushing even bottom, but TOP, they step forward like lightning striking onto the map. They're going to sacrifice their
The Gangplank
inhibitor
can
even.
end the game if they don't actually get this quickly and get out in one piece.
They're trying to finish it off. Mega finished off from Marin. That's a stun, locking him in place. Look at the damage burning onto him. Korn on the side goes in. Swift looks to finish it off, but Karin starts the fight. They manage to get the stun. There's no Cosmic Radiance just yet, but they can't get into the Elder Dragon. Smite is not going to do it. Korn picks it up. Recall now completing. Teleport, to get Marin back to base and defend as Swift will die. But still, like you said, that Gangplank is on the Nexus.
He's actually
trying
on
to
it.
finish it off. Meow could try to end the game here. He's burning with the Elder Dragon. Oh my gosh, and finally will go down, but look at the damage. EasyHoon and Martin are finishing off the fight on the backside. Chaos across the map as TOP's base is in shambles.
An Elder Dragon or not, Vici make the absolute correct play. There is a bare Nexus to be seen, and there are so many people dead from the side of TOP. They're threatening. They might be able to just end it right now.
Martin and EasyHoon stepping forward, 2 versus 2 for the series. Martin going to be knocked up.
Cancelled.
Stunned out of it. Korn does not get the hero's entrance. Protobelt on the side. He manages to get even more. Martin steps up for an additional audio, but he is dead. Korn with the Zanyas stalls even longer. He will sacrifice his life because EasyHoon is just doing so much damage. Like you said, untouched in these fights.
But he's got 5 seconds. He should be able to get it. He's by himself.
There's no damage. Marin is back up with Flash. Cat is there too. He's trying to finish it off. Can he do it? He shields himself off.
He can't do it.
But he cannot. And look who's here. Caveman walked across the map after respawning, turns around and heads home. This game is still going, Rusty.
The Nexus is bare. It's got barely any health to it. And TOP come back alive at the last second. And they are able to save the day in one of the most epic 2v2 skirmishes to end the game you've ever seen in League of Legends. Well, the game doesn't end. It continues. We're still here. Or Swift, don't you do it.
He is absolutely thinking about it.
He has a Lich Bane. He could do it, but he shouldn't do it.
Yeah, that Nexus is already such low health. All he needs is a handful of autos to finish it off, but Marin, very diligent, clearing out the wave. Even the middle inhibitor is still safe. TOP have got a single thread keeping them in this game.
But that's the most important thread, Dom. I don't even mean the Nexus. The inhibitor is still there. The fact that it's there, not double super minions running at them. It's easier to clear the waves. It's easier to clip away those minions. And that means they have an opportunity to leave the base. Now, they only get 1 chance. They have to win the fight pretty convincingly to stay in the game at all. But without 3 inhibs down, the chance is still there.
Oh man, 45 seconds for this Baron, and Vici, well aware of what TOP are going to try to do, start stepping forward.
You know they're just going to try and end the game. There's no wards to teleport to, though. The entire base of TOP has been cleared. But they definitely want to bait TOP outside of the base and then just run to the Nexus. Otherwise, they get a free Baron. It's really on TOP to choose, and they have to choose perfectly.
Vici Gaming still dangling that sword above TOP's head.
Keep your eyes peeled for Rise ultimates.
Yes, the 5-man, the dropship to get into the base. If they can manage to get to the base before TOP, that would be huge, but Baron is being started. EasyHoon steps forward and stacks up. Karen is just behind them. Corn is trying to catch up. Yes, like you said, EasyHoon right in the middle, still holding on to that Realm Warp.
They want the super minions to start threatening the Nexus as it is completely bare. TOP now with the timer. Vici make the smart play. They slow it down.
Corn pushing up top. That's one wave that they can handle, but Marin with no teleport cannot handle bottom. The hook, very opportunistic, but Martin absolutely safe. Caught by the pier, steps forward. Karin goes in. That's the Cosmic Radiance, but Vici are on the wrong side of this. They're in front of TOP.
Bottom.
They're trying to sprint in, but Cat with the engage. He stepped forward.
Oh
That's
my God.
the Wombo combo. That's the damage you were looking for. A double kill. Swift racing for the Nexus to try to get
He's
there.
just trying to end.
And there's no way they can catch up. He's going to race for the base.
He's by himself. He's got the Lich Bane.
The minions are there. Swift is going to try to end the game.
He's actually got it.
Karin looking to go forward. The knockup. Swift goes low, and he's going to end the game single-handedly, keeping Vici in the series.
Would you believe that it comes down to Vici's one new member on the roster? Swift comes in. The Lich Bane in Italy. They just got womboed. The best wombo that you could possibly get from TOP. The whole composition comes in and just steps up. And then the Nidalee just pounces over the wall. Marin can't follow. The game ends.
A single champion slips through their fingers. And that's enough for Vici to close out the game. The newcomer Swift. Oh man, and you can see the walk backstage. Vici Gaming, they are not done just yet.
Not without a fight. They definitely get a clutch victory in game number 2. They had control for most of the game. It was just about to turn on its head. The Nexus was bare already. They had that down super low. Swift is just the one to hit that home run. Does it himself when no one else was able to do it for him. But it was also Vici that got him to that position. The whole team was able to enable him to be there in the first place. And little things like not starting the Baron when they know the super minions are pushing in bottom, buying themselves that extra 20 seconds, that extra 30 seconds is enough for the super minions to crash in with Swift.
It really seemed like that was the game plan for Vici once they managed to find their stride. Buying time, forward and aggressive wards to make sure they knew when the 5-man was coming. The Cosmic Radiance to stall fights out as best they can. Even dragging out those fights around the Baron to allow EasyHoon to do massive amounts of damage.
Yeah, ultimately, it still looks super good from Vici in some degrees, and it felt like that last fight, well, you could take it with a grain of salt. They were trying to get out. They were going towards bottom lane. I think the Rise ultimate was actually the next part of Vici's plan. It was good by TP to recognize that. They picked the perfect moment. Corn with the flash taunt as well, and well, that was pretty crazy, honestly, from TOP to even get that close to holding it. Vici, even crazier to finish it.
Yeah, I know. Vici keeping their cool throughout the entire course of that game to close it out. But now to hear from our analysts and last hit our Nexus.
Thank you very much, Dom. We're going to last hit the Nexus right here, Reds. But Swift, he picked up the game-winning play, but that game was an absolute cat cafe. I mean, we got Meow, you know, in the top lane. You got Cat in the bottom. You got a Cougar in the jungle. Even a prehistoric kitty cat being played by Marin. And all eyes were on Swift from the start of the game all the way to the finish, Raz. Because he kicked it off by dying to a couple of birds, Raz. The Raptors got first blood of this match.
You don't get to see that a lot, dude. Usually cats are pretty good against birds, but those are tough chickens. Like, first clear, second clear, kind of difficult for Nidalee. That's really hard for her. She tried to go for it. And it starts with a joke, right? It starts with that joke, but it really is a serious point because Nidalee, the reason why this pick is strong is because you need to be at a faster tempo as than the enemy jungler. You need to be able to kind of impact that matchup quite a bit. Go in for early invades, get those proper wards. Losing that early on, you lost the red buff timer, so you can't get an early gank off. You lose the fact that the base timings was really out of whack. He couldn't complete the tracker's knife, so then there are no wards on the map. Jarvan's able to get proper wards, able to get to his camps faster, even able to go into the enemy jungle and look for an invade into the wolf camp. So that actually suddenly that's gone. So you're like, okay, at least going into this game, gank, right? Gank pressure. You have a gank pressure. You don't usually have gank pressure as Nidalee, but you have the Rise W that you can support that. But the first gank doesn't go out too well. And then the second gank was a little bit better, but they couldn't get the kill because Galio uses his ulti, and you're like, all right, this is not looking good for Swift.
On top of that, it kind of unlocked Karen. We saw him go for those dives not only in the mid lane, but also in the bottom lane to kick things off for TOP. They weren't successful, and that allowed Vici to get a small lead, and they used those leads to fight pretty effectively. They fought around Caveman's ult quite nicely, they fought around Barons pretty well, but we could only say that for them for a couple of those fights. And then it just kind of dissolved into what looked like TOP trying to come back into the game.
Yeah, it was interesting because it felt like Marin was getting a little bit frustrated, so he started to build rapid fire cannon for the split push, and so the game was just a back and forth where TOP were starting to look for picks, starting to look for split push, and so the matchup was like, okay, GP was like, all right, this is not looking good for me, guys. I need to join the team every single time. So the Baron fight was really impactful for this team.
And I mean, on top of that, we saw how GP was able to go split push, picked up the inhibitor turret top lane, took down both Nexus turrets as well. And then TOP found a massive team fight. We're going to take a look at that, where the wombo combo just worked. But there's a sneaky little kitty cat in this fight, Raz.
All right, the defense was great from TOP. Even turns into this fiasco, where they get a 4-man knockup. This is game for TOP. This should be it. And a few of them were trying to rush towards, I guess, their own end. They're trying to go for the open mid lane that they had going for them, and then they start to realize where Nidalee is actually heading, jumping over the wall, and you're like, who's actually going to answer that? They didn't have the Baron because they were fighting for Baron initially, so their back's going to take a little bit of time, and that's enough time for Nidalee to go for the last hit.
On top of that, they were already fighting around Baron buff. They were on top side of the map, mid lane. They didn't answer the bottom lane super minions, which allowed Swift to get into the Nexus, get those final auto attacks down with the Witchman to pick up the win, and he's going to be the man that picks up man of the match.
And here's the thing about this, because TOP had them in a deathlock. There are two options. GP has TP. He can go towards the bottom lane that was pushing in, and they would have been able to win the game on that point. Or they could have taken Baron. So right there, TOP were in such a great position, or at least, no, Vici were in such a great position where the game was like, all right, it's looking great for us around this Baron point, and then it just kind of falls apart. So like that was a great Baron look. It was a great team fight for TOP. It just didn't end out well.
No, it did not. And I mean, you can talk about how the backdoor came in from Swift to pick up the victory at the end of the day. Still, TOB were able to fight around the Taric ultimates quite well towards late game. And this was 8,000 gold down. But a really important thing to highlight is how Vici now, they came into game number 2 with a game plan. They had a strategy and they executed it well this time round. Repelled every single dive from TOP. Despite the small mistakes from Swift early, they stayed on and still executed that game plan. And that's what kind of brought them to that gold lead they had over TOP.
Yeah, it was a good adaptation overall, which is why game 3 is going to be even more interesting, just because we already saw the bottom side of Vici saying, we're not going to lose level 2, or we're not going to lose level 1 even, knowing that they're going up against Kalista Thresh. They just pushed the wave immediately and started off in a great foot for themselves. And then already had the gank pressure in the mid lane, so now maybe they have to think about the Rise specifically, because if this is the same draft going into game 3, Swift don't have that much of a muck up in the early portions of the game, and it looks like Vici will be able to not only have the pressure in towards Galio, but will have the bottom side looking great for them as well.
Because both you and Rusty said going into game number 2, I mean, we saw Rusty talk about during champs, like you were talking about on the desk here, that they went for the bans of the Kennen as well as the Rakan. Not going for the Galio, which you talked about, which was a little bit confusing, but Vici showed they could deal against the Galio in different ways this time.
And I like that, because when we were throwing it off, I was like, that one option is to have a better gank pressure mid lane so they can actually look for a kill or send the Galio back. So they needed stronger kill potential there. So that shows confidence, right? That shows confidence that they're saying, you know what, the Galio is not the problem. We can still leave him in the game. That just means we have to focus a little bit harder towards the mid lane matchup. If that's going to be the same case here, I think Corrin might just go towards the third game of Galio. If they give him Galio again, for him, that makes sense for him to pick it up for the team fights. And it makes sense for him to just say, well, for the composition, I'm already doing pretty decently in the lane. And the Galio ulti is really strong for us. So it seems like there's incentive for TOP to pick it up, and there's also incentive for Vici to say, we'll just play into it once again.
Because now you definitely have to try and go back to the drawing board. You're going to game number 3. Both these teams have yet to pick up a series win, and something needs to give going into game 3. Already adaptations coming out from Vici, and they picked up game 2 off the back of it. now it's really curious to see what is the final changes these two teams are going to make.
Yeah, one thing that I'm going to be looking towards is the top lane matchup. If the GP gets back out again, because I think the GP pick wasn't punished enough earlier on. Not a lot of dive pressure going towards him. Maybe we see the GP going towards Marin, or they look to ban that out.
Well, Cats have 9 lives, but unfortunately for Vici and TOP, there's only 1 left for both of them. We're going to go into a short break. We'll be back with game number 3 in just a bit.